So today I'm reviewing a free pattern online. It's the So Easy Serger Scrap Catcher. I think that's what it's called anyway. As always, if you like this video and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a free pattern online. If you go onto the So Easy website, which I will link in the description, if you go onto the website, you can view it on a blog post, or you can download a PDF, I believe, that you can print out. I did print it out, but I ended up looking at the web version as well, just because I printed it out in grayscale and it was quite hard to understand some of the photos because of that. So there aren't any variations, obviously it's one simple pattern. However, they do advise on how you could adjust this mat so that in case your overlocker is vastly different to the one that they use to base these measurements on. I ended up following the exact measurements because I had a quick look and I thought it should fit. So it's obviously worth noting as well, I have made this as a gift, so I will not be using it myself. So I can't really comment on the practicalities of it and whether it is useful as a scrap catcher. However, I can obviously review how the pattern was to make up. The fabric I've used is probably, I'd say it's a quilting cotton weight. I use this to make my partner a bag for carrying his marking when he used to teach, and I had some of it left over and I thought it would be perfect for this project. So it's this lovely, I've got it in two colourways, so it's this toucan fabric, and then you can see the contrast fabric underneath there, and it's also inside in the pockets as well. For the edging, I've just used some shop bought bias binding, so I think it's quite a wide length. I think when it's folded over it's about 1.2 centimetres. In terms of difficulty, I found this pattern relatively challenging, to be honest. It's quite simple, it's all squares and rectangles, so in that respect it's quite easy, but there is an awful lot of bias binding, and although I normally like to machine stitch the first side and then hand sew the second side, I used the machine to top stitch and I just found that it dragged quite a bit. It's probably because I don't do it that often, I haven't practiced enough to get a really nice finish, but I did find that challenging. Moving on to clarity, I did find that the instructions were quite challenging to follow. I don't think I was in the best frame of mind when I was making it, to be honest, so it could just be my interpretation at the time. However, I did find aspects I wasn't too sure what I was doing. I think part of it was because you're meant to quilt the pieces and I haven't. I have used fusible fleece, so I have got a bit of padding in there, but I think what they'd done in the pattern was they had quilted the outer and lining pieces together, and as I didn't do that, I was looking at ways where I could hide the seams, if that makes sense. So I kind of made it more complicated for myself than it should have been. So I'm not really sure whether it was just I had my own agenda, so I was conflicting with the instructions, or whether it was that they were quite difficult to follow. There are some reviews on the blog post and they're all really positive, so it could just be I wasn't in the right frame of mind, or I was so determined to hide all of the raw edges that I ended up doing my own thing. For the design and fit, as you can see, it fits my overlocker anyway perfectly. Hopefully it will fit the overlocker of the recipient as well, but I think they're fairly standard, the size of overlockers, so fingers crossed it will. Yeah, so it fits very nicely on here. I've actually got it on a table where there's a slope on the side, which normally I wouldn't use my overlocker on this table. So it's not sitting quite as nicely as it normally would. So if I had it on a table which didn't have this dipped edge, I would have the overlocker right up to the edge, and then that would allow the excess fabric that was being cut off to fall nicely into the pocket. I really like the design. I like that it's very generous, so if you don't regularly empty your scrap catcher, that's okay because you've got loads of room there. Also, I guess if it had been a bit smaller, it might have missed it, I'm not sure. But yeah, it works really well. I'm very happy with it. I am thinking that if I did make another one, I would possibly look at lining the pocket with a different fabric, so one that I guess is easier to scoop the remnants out of, because I just think that it might be, all the fluffy bits you end up getting when you overlock, particularly if you've got a bit of basting or wadding. You've got the issue that you might not ever be able to completely get all the stuff out of the pocket section. So possibly I might use something like a bit more of a plasticky fabric, or a waterproof fabric, or a water resistant one, just because then it will be a lot smoother. Or I guess you could use that vinyl, that stuff you can iron on to make your fabric have that sort of waxy sheen, so you could do that as well, and then it might be easier to scoop out your fabric. For time taken, it is actually quite a quick make, so if you did want to make it as a gift, possibly for Christmas, for a sewing friend, it would work quite well. Firstly, doing a sort of project like this, I find cutting out all the bits takes the longest. Second, I'd say it's all the bias binding. So there is quite a lot of bias binding, but it's definitely worth it. So overall, I'm kind of happy with the pattern. I did get quite frustrated with it, and I guess maybe I just had a slightly different view of how it was meant to work out. I think also it's not the easiest pattern to follow if you are a beginner. However, I think most people who are going to be making a mat and scrap catcher for their own overlocker, if they've got an overlocker, they probably have done enough sewing to be able to make the mat anyway. So yeah, overall, I would recommend it because it is a good size. You just might want to be a bit more creative when you're looking at the instructions on how you want the final finish to look. Like I say, I think I did deviate from it a fair bit because I didn't want to see the raw seams within the pockets. If I made it again, I'm definitely going to look at this pattern, but I might look at a way in which I can tweak it a bit to suit my own needs, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's a free pattern, and obviously someone's worked hard on that and shared their own time and effort. But I would have a look and, don't be afraid to adjust it if you want to. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.